In my opinion, Colonial Williamsburg is where American decorating started, and there are beautiful and modern references just outside the door. I'm Heather Chadduck Hillegas. I'm an interior designer based in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm the Williamsburg designer in residence, and we're at the Nelson-Galt House. When I walked into the house the first time, I knew I was meant to decorate this house. And it's an incredible opportunity that my husband and I get to live here with our dog Eloise for the next 2 years and call it home. I grew up in a Williamsburg style house, so it almost feels like this style of home is in my DNA. We're in the Nelson-Galt House, built in 1695, and it's the oldest residential dwelling in Colonial Williamsburg. General Thomas Nelson was a signer of the Declaration of Independence and the Governor of Virginia, and he was one of the early owners of this house. In 1816, the house was purchased by the Galt family, who owned it for longer than any other family. When we started decorating the house, there were a lot of rules we had to follow because of the historic nature of the home. So we couldn't put any nails in the woodworking, and anything applied to the plaster walls had to be installed by a curator. We had to get incredibly creative in this house. This is the parlor, and I loved the paint color on the wainscoting, so we decided to leave it as is. And I fell in love early on with this wall covering from Paul Montgomery that's derived from an embroidery panel in the museum here. And he was so kind to work with us to work through the colors and bring in the greens and the creams and a khaki color that related beautifully to the existing wainscoting. One of my favorite tricks in decorating is using these brass rails to hang art from, because you don't have to drill nails into the wall. I borrowed these beautiful prints from the Garden of Versailles from a local dealer, and at the time I didn't know exactly where they were going to go, but I love how the 12 perfectly lined up on this wall, and there were 2 oddballs of a different shape that were the perfect pieces to go under these sconces, and that's just what we call a happy accident in decorating. It's hard for me to pick a favorite in this house because I feel like every room tells a story and every room is so rooted in tradition. This wallpaper is a mural that was hand painted. I think it's perfect for a dining room. It makes it moody and dramatic. We depended so heavily on local vendors to loan us such beautiful furnishings, paired with things that I brought from home, lamps and kooky lampshades and cherished finds. I found this set of chairs that were in desperate need of recovering, and we used Schumacher's Lightfoot stripe to not only upholster the seats, but also make a slipcover. I wanted something skirted for the softness, and I think we achieved that. This was my great-grandmother's corner cupboard, and my father was so kind to loan it to me for the 2 years, and it's Shenandoah Valley pine. It's a beautiful piece, and with the imperial blue china, we just chocked it full, and I think it makes a really beautiful focal point. I think the most important lesson is that there's no need to reinvent the wheel here. The color palettes are here, the architectural details are here, and if you do your homework and look around, you'll realize how many decorating lessons are rooted right here in Colonial Williamsburg. One of my favorite buildings here is the Galt Apothecary. I love the shelving, I love the blue and white jars, I love the way it's all displayed. I just think it's beautiful. This is probably my favorite room in the house because I love blue and white. And we used Lafayette Botanical, which is a new fabric and wallpaper available through Schumacher. And it was extracted from the archives here at Colonial Williamsburg. I love this room because it's tiny, and it was fun to design these beds that perfectly tucked under the eaves. And we decided to wrap the entire room in both fabric and the wall covering. It's a very English way to approach things. Eloise loves this room too. It's one of her favorite little sunny spots. I love the With House here. It is one of the chicest homes I can imagine. I love the bedrooms draped in canopies. That was a huge part of our inspiration here. The study in the Governor's Palace is one of my favorite rooms here in Colonial Williamsburg, and it was entirely the inspiration for our study in this home. This is the study. I love this room. It's completely swaddled in blue. We love to entertain in here. This is a day bed that we had made for lounging and also as an extra twin bedroom in the house when we have so many guests. And it's just cozy nesting right underneath this swagged canopy. And then we tucked these beautiful little lamps in with custom shades. And it glows at night. It's just one of my favorite rooms to spend time in. The Benjamin Moore Paint Company challenged me with using as many of the colors from the Colonial Williamsburg paint deck as possible. So there's 144 colors. We chose a palette of blues, greens, naturals, and whites, and wove those colors all the way through the house. I love this little kitchen. It's tiny, but it's perfect. The color is Palace Pearl, and it's become a favorite blue. This kitchen is a little bit masculine, which I like. It feels a little bit more like a scullery than a true kitchen. I think the colors do that, and the richness of the soapstone, but also the richness of the walnut butcher block, which my brother handmade from a tree that fell in his yard. Many of these old houses had the main house, and then the kitchen was separate in case there was ever a fire. It wasn't a total loss. So in the case of this house, they were connected by something they call a hyphen, which is basically a sunroom. And that serves as my desk area and where I office. It gets beautiful light during the day, and it has sort of a casualness about it. And we sit there and have cocktails in the afternoons. It's everyone's favorite room. Everyone wants to know about the lampshades, and in order to find the perfect color green, I mixed Rit dye in a bath in my house and dipped silk shades repeatedly until I got the perfect color of blue-green. One of my favorite fabrics from the Schumacher collection is Dandridge Damask, and it comes in 3 colorways, and we've used it in 2 colorways in the house. And it was a fragment of Martha Washington's dress that was preserved. And the scale of the pattern is as it was when she wore it. In the queen bedroom, we used a beautiful Schumacher fabric and made a scalloped cornice around the bed that was something that I dreamt about doing for so long, but I couldn't quite figure out what pattern I wanted to use for the scallop. I walked out the back door one day and looked ahead, and my neighbor's back porch had this perfectly scalloped trim around the top of it, and I said, that's it. That's the pattern we need to put on the bed. Spring is a beautiful time to be here. The tulips are coming up, the peonies are about to bloom, and there's so many lovely outbuildings. I have a gorgeous gazebo out here that I love to entertain in, and you're just nestled in the middle of beautiful gardens. One of my favorite things is hosting weekends here at the house, whether it's my family at holidays or having a girls' weekend. We sit outside in the gazebo, we have wine, we ride bikes, we go to the farmer's market. It truly feels like my home. One of the takeaways here was how important it is to do your research. I feel like I learned so much. I feel like I'm a better designer now because I know the provenance of so many of the things I've always loved, but now I know exactly where they came from.